Y'all need to calm down and stop getting so damn emotional.
They're trying to kill them.
I think all gay men would benefit from a gender transition.
The divorce is happening. Hashtag LGB Without The T. Since we're on the subject, why don't you quickly tell me where the community would be without the years upon decades of activism from the T community?
In the year of 2024, maybe being gay is an outdated concept.
It's about time that we approach this subject with grace, logic, without emotion. So we're going to do that today. But first, let's roll the intro. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel where I react to videos online because I can never shut the hell up and the craziness online never stops. Today we're talking about a very controversial subject amongst the gay community, which is LGB without the T. Now, there's a growing movement of lesbian, gays, and bisexuals who are growing angry with the trans lobby and the things that they are starting to push onto the public, whether it's legislatively or socially. Some of these ideas, a lot of them argue, are at odds with being gay. I make that argument very often, and I will show you guys examples of it. While the other side says we can't abandon trans people because they helped us get our rights and because we've always stuck together and there's power in numbers. We're going to approach this subject, like I said earlier, with logic and without emotion, and really try to find the truth of the discussion while also finding a solution to it. So just about a year ago, I went on Jubilee's Middle Ground. It was gay conservatives versus gay liberals. As you guys know, since then I have become an independent. I am no longer defined as a conservative, but I'm also not defined as a liberal, but I was on the conservative side. In this panel, we debated a lot of different subjects, one of them being LGB without the TQ+. I'm going to go ahead and roll the clip here and explain some of the arguments that I presented on this debate, and then we will expand on them once the clip finishes.
The LGB should be separated from the TQIA+.
I think in general, this conversation can become very hostile because it seems like, oh, I don't want you to be a part, like I don't want you to be my friend, I don't want to be with you, be next to you, be seen with you, and that's not the case. One is an identity, and one is a sexuality. And that's just the simple difference between the two. Eventually, as both groups are fighting for their own personal interests, those are going to not work cohesively. So one is going to be quieter and one is going to get taken advantage of, etc. A lot of what's in the media today is sensationalized content about, targeting children. A lot of it is valid and some of it is not. But a lot of times it's gay men that are doing it, and trans people are getting blamed for it when it's really gay men in drag. Right. And because the letters are together, people don't know the difference.
Okay, before I get into it, y'all, the forehead. I could land a Boeing 737 on that shit. Let's be real. Don't worry. I'm gonna get a hair transplant. So don't make fun of me yet. You can make fun of me after I get it done. No, okay, so all jokes aside, the point I was making is that LGB being grouped with T is confusing to people who are not gay or transgender. And also, when socially, if transgender people start to act a certain way on average, then that will blow back on gay people because people associate us together, and vice versa. You see gay men in drag acting inappropriate, and then legislators assume that they're trans. So then they take action on trans people, or people have growing resentment towards trans people. So we're starting to see how these two completely separate things being grouped together is causing problems for trans people and for gay and lesbian and bisexual people. Because at the end of the day, these are two entirely separate things. One is a identity that is based in a medical diagnosis, and one is a sexual orientation. It's about who you're attracted to, about who you date. Now, me having this conversation and saying that LGB should not be with the T does not mean that I don't support trans people. It just means that I am a person who follows logic, and I'm clearly able to distinguish between the two separate things. One is an identity and one is a sexuality. Now, when activists on the left side of the spectrum hear my arguments, a lot of times what they do is they will use emotional manipulation and misinformation to shut gay men up when they have very real concerns about this issue. I'll show you an example from the debate where Miss Denham, that's what we like to call her, Miss Denham, who I will not name because she's crazy and went on a rampage after we did this debate. I'm saying she, but it's a he. Because she lost the debate, she went on a rampage and was bitter, asking her followers for money because she wanted them to buy her coffee because she was upset and embarrassed that she lost the debate. Anyways, so Miss Denham here used that same emotional manipulation on me by misrepresenting a prominent gay figure. Exhibit A.
Just so privileged of us, like Marsha P Johnson threw that first brick at Stonewall, and because of her,
She didn't throw the first brick.
or the second, or
She
the
got there
third.
at 2 a.m., first of all. And second of all, Marsha P. Johnson was also a gay man. So when she was fighting for those rights, she was fighting for gay rights because she was gay.
So you see here that what Miss Denham did was Miss Denham was brought up a prominent gay figure, Marsha P. Johnson, and used Marsha's story to try to manipulate me into taking back my points, as if because a trans person was involved in a pivotal moment in gay history, somehow gay people should now lose their voice, stay quiet, and not voice any real logical concerns. Now, the only problem with that is that Marsha P. Johnson's story has been debunked many times. Marsha P. Johnson was not the first person to throw the brick at Stonewall. Marsha didn't even get there until like 3 a.m. Marsha also, while dressed like a woman, was a transsexual, and on Marsha's deathbed said, "I am a gay man." So when Marsha was fighting for gay rights, Marsha was fighting for Marsha's rights because Marsha was a gay man. So this whole effort is emotional manipulation at its core. They want you to feel guilt. So when you feel that guilt, you shut up and you let them do whatever they want, and they can say whatever they want. They can push whatever agenda they want onto everybody without having gay people have an opinion on it. Now, my point is, if you don't want to hear gay men's opinions, then you don't get to have us in the alphabet. Now, my second point is, even if this story were true about Marsha P. Johnson, and Marsha was a transgender woman, which is not the case, and I don't think we should be speculating about somebody who has passed away. I think it's irresponsible to use figures that have passed away in history and assume that they're going to fit our agenda today. But even if it were true that Marsha was a transgender woman that helped us get our rights, it is disingenuous to say that transgender people back then, fighting for very sensible rights, would also be fighting for the same rights that the transgender lobby is fighting for today. For example, this, you really think that the people who were just trying to live their lives freely and actually fight for equality thought that, oh, yeah, women are not going to be able to compete against biological women anymore? You really think that's what they were fighting for when they just wanted to be able to live their lives freely? I don't. I think that that's a stretch. Or, maybe I think it might be a stretch to assume that they all would agree with 14-year-old girls getting the option to go through with double mastectomies, or little boys getting put on puberty blockers. Yeah, Chloe Cole here. Look up her story. But don't worry, the activists will tell you that that's not happening, right? Gay people and transsexuals are fighting against real brutality. They were fighting against persecution based off of who they were. They were not doing the bidding for big pharma or big LGBTQ plus LMNOP QRISTUV plus 2 plus 7 equals pi 3.14 nonprofits that need to continue to fundraise. So they keep adding letters. They weren't doing the bidding for them. They were literally just fighting for sensible rights. But even if it were true that a brigade of trans people came in and said, "Here are your rights, gay men. These are yours. Please take them." You don't do something for someone expecting something in return. You don't do something for someone and use that favor or use what you did for them as a way to manipulate them into agreeing with you or behaving a certain way. It's not a very noble thing to do, to fight for somebody's rights just so you can hold it against them 50 years later because you want to chop the tits off of 14-year-old girls. I don't think that's such a nice thing to do, is it? We don't owe anyone undying allegiance just because they support a very sensible cause. Equal rights is a sensible cause. If you don't support gay men and women having equal rights, you're just kind of a shitty person. I don't owe you anything for being a sane person, for supporting a very sane cause. So you can't claim just because that you supported us, we now have to support this. You don't get to emotionally manipulate gay men and women into shutting themselves up and not sharing their very real concerns and opinions about where this movement is going. What about lesbians who play sports? Should they not be able to play against biological women as well, or do they have to shut up and agree with this? This is why the LGB Without The T conversation is happening, because these are very real concerns that gay men and women have, and they're being told to shut up, sit down, and do not speak. I support trans people's rights to live equally as adults. I hold no animosity towards transgender individuals. In fact, some of the most kind-hearted people that I know, and some of the most kind-hearted people that I've met, and most pleasant people that I've met, have been transgender individuals. When I make this video and I talk about these issues, I'm speaking specifically to the trans lobby, the big nonprofits who are utilizing a medical condition to push a lot of things socially and legislatively that are not fair, are not based in truth, and that are detrimental to the well-being of our kids and to fairness. There are very real issues that we should be taking with gender ideology as a whole. I believe that you can have gender dysphoria, and I believe in your ability to accommodate that as an adult. But what I don't believe is that somebody can be born in the wrong. That doesn't make any sense. Because if gender is a feeling, then being gay doesn't exist. Because I'm attracted to men. Or if a man who I'm attracted to says, oh, well, I am now a woman, does that make me bi? No.
If you exclude trans people from your possible dating pool because they're trans, that is transphobia.
There is some real contradictions that happen when you put LGB and T together, when T doesn't mean gender dysphoria, it means gender ideology. You see, this is the problem. At the core of the trans lobby movement of gender ideology, they believe that gender is a feeling. Now, I will say, most trans people agree that gender is biological because they're dysphoric about it. Most trans people are not what you see online. Most trans people are not supporting a lot of this mess that the gay nonprofits are pushing. However, the problem is that these big nonprofits who supposedly represent gay people and trans people pander to radical activists and will never call them out or draw the line on how far they take it. So they're sweeping the true meaning of what it means to be gay, as in they're sweeping biological reality under the rug to appease these radical activists. So this is why a lot of gays want a divorce. Not because they don't support trans people, because they don't support radical gender ideology as a movement. Now, my last point as to why we're seeing a lot of gay men and women want to have their own, LGB without the T, is because a lot of gay men and women see themselves in these young people who appear to be trans. I'm one of them. I personally grew up very feminine. I played with Barbies, I wore dresses, I was in makeup, I quite literally was a very, very feminine young boy. At one point, my nickname, this sounds really fucked up, but my sisters used to call me a little girl with cancer because I had a buzz cut and I would wear dresses all the time and I looked like a little girl with cancer. I know it's fucked up, but whatever. It was a different time. At one point, I thought that I was supposed to be a girl because I liked everything that was traditionally associated with girls. A lot of gay men and women can attest to the same. But then we, people like us, gay men and women, see videos like this.
They are transgender from the moment that they have any ability to express themselves, and parents will often tell us this. We have parents who tell us that their kids, they knew from the minute they were born practically, and actions like refusing to get a haircut or standing to urinate, trying to stand to urinate, refusing to stand to urinate, trying on siblings' clothing, playing with the quote opposite gender toys.
And then we see videos like that. That is a children's hospital who's saying all the things I just said, but instead of saying let that child be a child and enjoy the things that they like, they're saying, oh, this is a sign that your child's probably trans and needs medical intervention. So as a gay man who can relate to that child, I obviously take issue with this. If I get vocal about it, all the gay media outlets, Exhibit A, will start to say we are anti-LGBTQ. Now, how am I anti-LGBTQ if I'm trying to stick up for young gay men and women? LGB is still in that acronym, yeah? So no, if anything is anti, and I'm not anti-trans, you can't be anti-LGBTQ if you're sticking up for gay people. But the truth is that the reason you're anti-LGBTQ is because you're anti-TQ+. And they keep gay people on there to make sensible people who support gay rights, because gay rights are sensible things to support, in alignment with whatever they want to push. Because if you say you're anti-LGBTQ, people automatically assume, oh, well, you're anti-gay rights. You don't want my gay friend to get married. You're a radical. But in actuality, the truth is that they're manipulating you and using gay people as a shield. I am not anti-LGBTQ. In fact, I support and I want to help these people who were in my situation as a child. And I don't want them to go under, all of these procedures and get put on medication that they might end up regretting, because that would have been me. If it was me younger and I had parents who were open to this idea, I can promise you I would have went through with this. I would not have been the man I am today. So because our letters are together, I'm automatically against myself as a gay man. But the truth is that the reason They keep our letters together, but they only care about the TQ plus is because there's no money to be made off of lesbian, gay, or bisexual people anymore. So they have to prioritize TQ plus issues to continue getting fundraising. Do you guys now see why some gay men and women are starting to get frustrated? Our concerns are being brushed aside because trans ideology is more profitable. So what's the solution? We always try to finish our videos with a solution. Logically speaking, a separation just makes sense, but realistically speaking, that's probably not going to happen. The most realistic solution here is for gay men and women to actually start walking into these organizations and speaking up and being brave and putting limits on what these activists can and cannot push. I think a lot of gay men and women who were sensible, rational people left activism because we got our rights and they wanted to enjoy their lives, as they should. But once the sensible people left, the crazies started to run the asylum. And that's what's happening in these organizations. They're shutting down dissenting gay men and women, culturally, socially, online, whatever it might be. You get shut down if you disagree with these organizations, but they will never shut down a radical trans activist. We need to find some sort of balance and bring back a little bit of rational thinking to LGBT issues. If they can begin to come back to reality, these organizations that really control the LGBT narrative, if they can come back to reality and allow themselves to be sane again and be based in some form of truth rather than this like religion of woke culture that it's become, they would garner a lot more support. All it takes is these organizations not allowing themselves to be controlled by radicals. That's all it takes. Now, will that happen? I don't know. I don't think so. But this video was to explain why this separation and this growing sentiment of wanting a separation is starting. It wasn't to explain whether or not it's actually going to come to fruition, because I am not a psychic reader. I don't know what's going to happen. But what I do hope is that some of these organizations can at least start to look out for minors and young gay men and women, because I think that's a very serious issue that is causing a lot of this animosity towards the letters in our movement. But besides that, thank you guys for joining and watching my video. Make sure you give it a thumbs up and you subscribe to the channel. I'll be posting new videos about every week. Sometimes I go through creative slumps, but right now I'm kind of on a roll because I've got my new editor. Thank you very much. So you can follow me on Instagram or wherever else it might be, but I will see you next week.